Hello, and welcome to this, my second conversation coping with COVID. With me today are two people who recognise the significant risk COVID would present to the quality of life and the safety of many of our residents here in Raunds. They are the Raunds Area Volunteers. I am talking to Stuart James and David Barral. Stuart, tell me how it all started.
It started, I was driving to work probably a couple of weeks before the lockdown, just as the news was really starting to spread. Listening to the radio, driving to work, and they were talking about certain sections of society perhaps having to isolate, stay at home for a number of weeks. And I thought to myself, well, I don't really know anyone personally, anyone I live with, anyone sort of nearby who would really need that sort of assistance to do shopping and to look after and to offer acts of volunteering, etc. So got to work. First thing I did is switch my computer on and put together a Facebook group, which was I just called Raunds Area Volunteers, so it was quite a snappy name. And it was really designed as a sort of a self-help group. I didn't really have any plans for it to be any bigger than that to start with. I think within 24 hours there were probably 150, 200 members of the group, and people were starting to put messages about that they were worried about COVID and how they were going to cope with being in isolation. The group rapidly expanded. It became a self-help group really to start with. Quite quickly, myself and the other admins in the group, because it got to about it's just under 800 members today. We thought, well, there's an opportunity here and a need to have a more structured volunteering organisation, perhaps behind the scenes. So we put together we put out a request if anyone would like to be a more active volunteer. Quite quickly, we decided that some criteria needed to be met. So we wanted to make sure that the volunteers were ID checked. Because obviously there's not been a lot of talk over the years about allowing people to come to your front door and mis-selling your things. So we thought, well, actually, we want to make sure that all our volunteers are ID checked. We know details of who they are, their skills that they can bring to the volunteering. So we initially were doing a few one-to-one chats with people. So when before the lockdown, some of the shops in town were still open. So Jesters, Modern Vape, the Treasury allowed us just to pop in there for a few minutes at a time, just to meet at a social distance some of the volunteers, have a chat with them. So we then moved on online once the lockdown started for that. But we put together a list of active volunteers, which is now about 120 active volunteers. And so the way that the system works now is we've got a phone number, dedicated phone number. So we started to work with Reverend John from the church. He's got a phone number, so people can ring his number, and it could get passed to us for an act of volunteering, whatever that might be. We also work with East Northants Council and other groups as well. So we decided the best thing to do is put together a help desk, really like a hot desk for inquiries to go to, because we can deal with people's inquiries really quickly. And so that's where David's skills came into to managing the hotline, if you like.
Yeah, and the hotline really took off. I said the first couple of weeks, by the end of May, we had, end of March, first couple of weeks, by the end of March, we had 20 requests. Following by the end of April, we had another 120. And then by the end of May, we had another 130. So really, we have around about 270 requests going through the system at the moment. That is just individual requests, and backed onto that, people have, once a volunteer has a beneficiary, they would probably do shopping 3 or 4 times, 5 times. So really, we're thinking we had really about 1,000 requests on that to go out and do food shopping, prescriptions, and things like that.
So Do you have any examples of the variety of requests that you get?
Yes, but we've had some very strange requests. We've had right at the beginning, someone was in lockdown and they had some live crickets. Sorry, a comedian, and they wanted some live crickets for their comedian. So we had to go out and get some of that. We've had over the last week or two, I think we've had some, someone's been locked down and they needed some rubbish collecting from their garden, etc.
Have you had any feedback from the volunteers about how they feel about being a part of this organisation?
Yes, something that we did round about 3 or 4 weeks ago. I took little cakes round to volunteers, and that just so to get their encouragement up. So it was a little small cake, little thank you card, a cake, and it was two things: to say thank you from the volunteers, also to check their well-being, because everybody's well-being, even volunteers' well-being, needs to be looked at during all this. We need to make sure, one, they haven't gone back to work still, they want to be part of the team still, etc. So it is a two-way conversation, again, from the call desk and all the admins. We do look after our volunteers quite well.
What do you think they get out of being a volunteer? Could you describe that? I think, Stuart, you talked to me about.
Yes, I can do that. It is really getting to know people. I mean, I've been in Raunds 10, 11 years, and I probably just know 2 or 3 people. Now we have a bundle of people, volunteers, we know people in the street, we talk to people in the street. So again, I think that sort of thing, the relationship between the people and the well-being between everybody is really improved, I think.
And I guess this was a unique response in the sense that we no one knew what the COVID was going to mean to us, and particularly the people that you're actually supporting. So, have you had any feedback from those who you're what about the crickets for the how did people feel?
I think they feel good that we've got a good team set up. We have lots of feedback on our Facebook account to say thank you, etc., and how wonderful we are and how well we've done. And that is down to our volunteers. I mean, we are just here at the call desk pushing calls out, etc., etc. It's our volunteers that are key to any organisation. We're just the pen pushers or the people that take the requests in, etc.
I think as well, the other thing is the speed at which sometimes, like David touched on earlier, sometimes if if somebody needs help, they might, if they were to put the request through, perhaps, the East Northampton Council, or whoever it might be, there is a bit of a lag in terms of it actually reaching the volunteer with us. So, for example, we delivered 15,000 leaflets for East Northampton Council with all their official phone numbers on. We also put a little sticker for Raunds Area Volunteers on there as well, because we can deal with requests for. We've even had requests come in for prescriptions, and actually a volunteer will already be on their way to the chemist to pick up a prescription for someone else. So we can tie these things in together. So we can really deal with, and we have dealt with people's requests, within an hour sometimes, which is I think been really, really useful. And I think it just makes people hopefully understand that they've not been forgotten. Perhaps they're not seeing their families. They might not be particularly au fait with technology, so Zoom and all the other things that we all are using is something which people may have struggled with to start with, but there is someone looking out for them, which I think is it's been a comfort for a lot of people.
And I think somebody being on the door that you can talk to, see, when you may not be able to have that closer relationship. But I mean, isolation is a really difficult thing to deal with. So not only have you actually been delivering what they need urgently, you've also provided that contact, making them feel a part of it. I mean, for me, it's not just about the work that you're doing in terms of the actual delivery. It's the growing of the community. You've really brought together many people. And how many people would you say in total? You gave me a figure, David, of how many people.
We've had 272 requests over the 12 weeks, I would say, and again 1,000 of them, so 1,000 extra requests. So again, if once a volunteer has a beneficiary, it's up to them to make contact. They make regular contact with them, check if they're well-being, etc. We can do. We have some our volunteers that are self-isolating, and they do wellness checks, etc. They'll call up the beneficiary 2-3 times a week just to check how they are. Because I know that being locked down or in this, as you're saying, in this COVID-19, it is quite hard. I mean, for me, I've got work on the side of things as well, which I can deal with. But it's just your mood swings, everything. You're up and down all over the place, and it really helps to have somebody there to talk to, that knows somebody there that will do your shopping, your prescriptions, your wellness check, etc.
So is the age group that you're reaching out to, is it right across the board from young to old? It's not just one group?
Yes, it's the young, it's people that probably have been furloughed, etc. We put them in contact, of course, with the food bank. We work with them, etc. It's the old that have, and the extremely vulnerable that have been told to self-isolate for 12 weeks. So it's very varied across there. So it's single parents, families, etc.
Yeah, indeed. So is the service that you're providing in the relationship, is that being passed by word of mouth around the town, do you think?
I think there's an element of word of mouth, definitely, but you know, we very early on we decided to have some flyers and posters printed. So we had some help from A&R Print Solutions in Raunds, who printed lots of nice colour posters. One of our admins put together the posters, really nice design. We had some A5 flyers, which again was put onto the volunteering request page, and we had we had plenty of volunteers happy to deliver the flyers around their local area and also further afield as well. So I think we've done we've probably covered the town at least twice, I would say, with flyers, posters in lots of shop windows. I mean, the shops in town and the service in town have been great. You know, without those guys, very early on especially, we'd have really struggled to get the word out, because they were allowing us to put posters in the window, allowing us to encroach in there, you know, into their building just to interview people early on. So we've had a lot of help from, you know, pretty much all the businesses in town. Have been fantastic.
That's a really important message. Thank you for that, because it's only if we pull together as a community that we're going to get through something like this. And I think, you know, they're central to this in the core. You and your team of volunteers and your energy and your you know, your commitment, because it will have taken a fair amount of time, I'm guessing, to make these things happen. They don't just happen on their own. So your team, it's compliments to your team on their focus and their delivery, because it's a really efficient system you've got.
There's one other sort of element of the group as well, which is the Care for Carers, which is a group we're very much aligned with as well, who put together care packages of some of the niceties that perhaps people aren't getting for carers. So people can nominate a carer, and the group put together little care packages of you know, shower gels, nice smelly things, gloves, and bits and pieces that people, especially early on, were struggling to get as well. I mean, early on, we had a lot of toilet roll, which we've got links with a wholesaler who got us toilet roll when people were struggling. So it's things like that which I think have really made a difference. But the Care for Carers has been, and they also do cakes for carers as well. So we've had you know, people being nominated for cakes, which volunteers who can't get out and can't actively volunteer are quite happy to, you know, and want to stay at home and make cakes for people. So we've had that going on as well, which has really made a difference. So one of the projects we got involved with during the Easter school holiday was organising the delivery of the free school meals for families of children who were in isolation. So we worked with the schools, we worked with the food bank, but we also used, or some of our volunteers were happy to actually deliver some of the school meals to these families as far afield. I think one family was in Wellingborough. So we've it's not just been delivery of medication and essential shopping. We've also got involved with other projects as well like that.
I think for years we've been in pursuit of this. Communities need to pull together and communities can make a difference. And I don't think it's been achieved anywhere. But I think now what you're talking about and what you've done has really, really achieved it. Thinking of the individuals, those who feel isolated, they're made to feel that they're not ignored and they're not forgotten. You're making people feel worthwhile and worthy, in letting them make their contribution where they can. I think the whole picture of what you're doing is really truly remarkable and greatly to your credit. I'm sure anyone in Raunds will know certainly after this. Are you looking for more volunteers? Because you might get more volunteers.
We are, because going forward, like me, I've slowly pulled off the help desk a bit because I have work commitments. And again, as work builds up, as things build up, volunteers unfortunately will disappear. We still need a good group of volunteers going forward, because this could last 6 months, 3 months, 6 months, a year. We don't know, and we need volunteers in the background to help. I think, Stuart, you're looking at trying to keep the group together going forward on that.
Yeah, I mean, myself and the admins of the group, we've had a lot of discussions about the future of the group, and one thing that we are pretty much keen on is the fact that the group is together. It will, the requests will slow down, and they have started to slow down, to be honest, for requests for help. But we don't know where this is going, what the next stage is going to be. They talk about perhaps future lockdowns, local lockdowns. Obviously, there could be some unemployment and redundancies and things as people start to perhaps go back to work for jobs that aren't there anymore. So they're because of the links we have with the food bank and some other organisations as well, we're really well placed to assist people going forward. And that's as the admin group, we've made that decision that we are here for as long as people need us to be.
Gosh, well, that is greatly to your credit, and I think I understand you've got a wider picture as well. Has your activities been noticed by other towns?
Yeah, well, they have. So we are part of the sort of Northamptonshire volunteering umbrella, and so a couple of the admins of our group, for example, also talk to admins of other groups. So we are sharing good practice, good procedures. So I mean, early on, we put together a sort of health and safety guidelines of what we'd like our volunteers to follow when they're doing voluntary work. So those guidelines I know have been passed to other groups as well. So we all do share good procedure and good practice, and we have been recognised in the county for the amount of activity we've done, especially like delivering leaflets for the council and things like that. So we were mobilised and had those leaflets delivered within a couple of days, or perhaps 3 or 4 days, and it's 15,000 leaflets. We also work with Frapston, so probably 3 or 4 weeks into the group being set up, another group in Frapston we were chatting to, and there was so much alignment between the two groups that we decided to just pull our resources. So actually, Raunds Area Volunteers includes Frapston and the other areas in between, the villages and sort of places in between as well. So
it must be that inside the village structure of our very rural county, that it really requires someone with that intimate knowledge of where people are, how it all works in the villages, which I think you have captured. So you captured that level of detail, but at the same time never lost sight of the overall direction of what you're trying to do, and you're already thinking, how do you carry this on? How are we going to do it? We're not going to just stop when they say there's no more lockdown, which I think is the jewel really in the crown of what you're doing, and I think you'll take everybody with you. If you want to put out a message to anyone in Raunds, then please do.
So what we would say is, don't really hesitate if you need help, need assistance, you need somebody to do something for you in any shape, way or form, let us know. Everything's confidential. Our group is a closed network, so don't feel any worry for asking for help. If you know someone in the community you think may need help at the moment during the pandemic, then if they don't want to contact us directly, feel free to contact on their behalf, because you know, we are here to help, and it is all kept confidential as well. So we've got links with the food bank, we've got links with lots of other organisations, and there is help there for everybody if they need it. We are always looking for volunteers. We're always looking, so in any capacity, we've got volunteers who are very active. We've got other volunteers who are perhaps isolating, but can volunteer their time in other ways. So we've had people making masks, we've had people on stage making cakes, and also some, you know, some who are sort of on our admin group who are behind the scenes, who you know, are in isolation and can't go out. So we're always looking for volunteers. So as people go back to work, if people do have time to perhaps take up that slack, then contact us. We've got our dedicated phone lines. We've got a dedicated email address as well, which is
RaundsVolunteers@gmail.com.
Yeah, that's going right then as well, isn't it?
So we're also very aware of our beneficiaries on the ways and means of paying, etc. Because we don't ask for cash up front for any of our requests. We would never ask for that. If our volunteer would go and pay for the shopping, etc. on that situation. We're worried about people having the cash or the funds, or even getting out to having internet banking, etc. So we have many ways we can do that. We can accept checks. We have our own card reader, etc., which we can take around, and so that beneficiaries can always pay for the goods that they have.
So I think that covers everything. I think a tremendous achievement, and so such a rapid response to an emerging situation that no one quite knew where it was going, and you've kept live what you're doing, and it's always matched the need, and I think that that is a tremendous achievement.
Thank you.
Thank you. The starting point for the Raunds Area Volunteers was to turn an idea into action, to fulfil what looked like a short-term need. They acted rapidly, effectively and efficiently, and the impact of their work was immediately recognised by the residents of Raunds. But it didn't stop there. Their idea became a comprehensive movement. They are all well networked with other councils, other agencies wanting to make a difference. But above and beyond all, they galvanised the whole community to be involved, offering a sense of achievement for all and delivering a much needed service to our residents of Raunds. Thank you.